Welcome to this brief video for church leadership teams, which is purposed to facilitate a starting discussion on a very important topic, outreach. Evangelism is something that is typically in the too hard basket in many Western churches. Our many program-based approaches to equipping and mobilising the members of our congregations over the past decades have not really worked. The average Western Christian is not really mobilised as an everyday conversational witness. And maybe lying behind this is the fact that you can't fix a paradigm problem with a program solution. And so our hope here is very simply to explain a different approach based on some strategically considered leadership habits that could bring change to this situation. And our hope for you here today is that you would have a very interesting discussion together, and that at the end of it you might conclude that this is something you want to pursue further and to learn more about. Very simply, 5 points, but before this, an introductory thought. It's commonly recognised that healthy churches grow, not just evangelistic ones. While all churches need to have a strong focus on outreach because this is our mission, if we were to be successful in this and new people came to our churches who had chosen to follow Christ, but our welcome isn't really very warm, and our worship lacks authenticity and feel, and our preaching is dry and boring and monotone, then they may just go to another church. Churches need to work at holistic health. However, it remains that every church must be evangelistic. Equipping our members for the Great Commission, which we're going to look at soon, is a non-compromisable duty within every Christian church. And I'd ask you to reflect upon this during this session. Equipping members for outreach is not a priority in many churches. Yet our suggestion would be that if we fail to do this, it would be a significant oversight. So 5 points now, and we're looking here at if evangelism is in the too hard basket, from a strategic perspective, how might we actually get this out? Number one, we need clarity regarding what the mission of the church is. If we were to look at the Gospel of Mark, it's very simple. It's about preaching the gospel. The Gospel of Matthew explains it in more detail. We're told to go and make disciples of all nations. That is to get out of our comfort zone to reach all people, and the goal itself is to make a disciple. Now, are we making disciples of people who are in churches already? The point is we're making disciples of people who are not in churches already. And this involves two key things. First of all, we need to communicate the Christian message with them so that they might respond, in which case they would be baptized. But then secondly, we need to journey with them, not only to teach them what Jesus' teachings are, but to teach them to obey them. This requires relationship, a journey, accountability, encouragement, support. Now, the common area of confusion regarding the mission seems to be about the relationship between the mission of the church and the various ministries of our churches. For example, we have community ministries, and we do things to help meet the practical needs of people in our communities. I love the way William Booth summed it up when he simply said, if you want to give a hungry man a tract, put it between two pieces of bread. That is to say that the communication of the Christian message to make disciples out of non-disciples, that's our mission. However, the words of love, the gospel, and the actions of love, our various community ministries and the like, they go hand in hand and they are inseparable. And so this is a very important balance. We love people in word and in action. We cannot separate them, but we must not lose sight of the fact that the communication of the gospel message to make disciples of non-disciples is our mission. Now, if we can accept that this is our mission, then the next strategic key is that we recognize there is a significant missional problem in many of our churches. The mission of the church is not observably, measurably, recognizably the mission of many local churches. From a biblical perspective, it could be said that this is a significant problem. If we can accept this, then we're looking for solutions. And first of all, I'd propose that to get evangelism out of that too hard basket, we need to find a way to do this for our members. We need to find a content for equipping that will make sense to them. Many members of Western churches have become skeptical of evangelism. They've been taught pat methods for evangelism, told what the gospel is and how to share it, but then they've had bad experiences because society has changed. The average person no longer accepts that there is a single knowable good created God. They believe that all religions lead to God. So we come with our message and they say, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad you found what works for you. and they've got their own belief. Our members need to know not only what the gospel is and how to share it, but how to engage non-threatening, two-way spiritual conversations with multi-religious people in the society around them. And then probably also how to work in teams, in outreach, and how to be dependent upon the Holy Spirit. If we were to teach them that, we might discover they're actually far more up for this than we would have thought. Then strategic thought number 4, we need to find a way to impart this content sustainably for the average pastor who's actually already very busy, who's probably doing 10 things at once, and the last thing they want is to be given one more thing to add to that list. And we believe we have an approach that can work for busy pastors like this to produce cultural change within their churches, as compared to giving a program that could be run for a season and then would end. You can't fix a paradigm problem with a program solution. You actually need a whole new paradigm. So we need a whole new way of trying to equip and mobilize our members to their mission. And that's what we're hoping to bring you through what is ahead. Finally, if we recognize what the mission is, that we have a missional problem, that we need a content that will make sense to our members, connecting with where they're currently at, that needs imparting in a sustainable way, we might actually also need some motivational and resourcing support. Because if we've been in church for a few decades, or even leading a church for a few decades, then we have already established our habits within leadership. We've already established our thought patterns for what we're thinking and looking for when we stand in front of our congregations on a Sunday morning. And so some ongoing motivational and resourcing support might just help us as we learn the nuts and bolts of thinking a little bit differently in the one area of outreach mobilization. When we learn to ride a bicycle, it's awkward at first. There are a set of habits that might be in front of us that are different to the way we have led and sought to mobilize our members before. It's not necessarily going to come naturally, but like learning a bike, after a while it could. So that is it. I'd like to invite you to have a discussion as a leadership team now. Some questions for you. Do you recognize a missional problem? Do you agree that equipping content that makes sense to members might be needed? Would you accept that a different approach to imparting that content to our previous program approaches might also be needed, so that being an everyday conversational witness for Jesus could become an authentic part of the culture of your church and of your church's members? Is this something that you as a team are willing to put some time and energy into trying to understand so that you could change the way that things are? I hope you have a great discussion about this, and there are some other videos available when you feel ready.